So today I wanted to make a video on the 5 reasons I think that we fall out of love with our wardrobes and end up spending a lot of money chasing the next thing. I'm making this coincidentally in my Gryffindor sweatshirt from the M&S children's section, which was a great purchase. So why am I making this video? It's been stewing in the back of my mind a little bit recently that the way I purchase clothes and the thought process is going on are maybe some kind of automatic anxious thought loop where I'm chasing endlessly some kind of satisfaction that I'm not going to get. And in doing that, I may be not spending my money as wisely as I could be, purchasing things that I don't really need and I won't really wear, but also maybe robbing myself of the kind of mindset which will allow me to enjoy the things I do have and play around with them and appreciate that. And I think I would quite like to be free of those thought processes. So what I wanted to do was talk about my theories as to why it is that we fall out of love with the clothes that we've already bought. Okay, so section number 1, I'm going to call identity and insecurity. I'm going to start by saying, don't get me wrong, I think that having fun with fashion and just design in general in your life and making the world around you beautiful and the things you put on yourself beautiful are some of the great pleasures of life. And if you analyze anything in life to death, like, oh, this is meaningless, what's the point in this, then nothing has any meaning. So just enjoy it. Fashion is great. I also think that the ritual of getting dressed in the morning, and particularly in days where you feel like you're dressing in something you really like, it helps you to prepare yourself for whatever section of your personality you are going to be presenting appropriately to different occasions in your life. But the process of putting on that uniform in the morning is important. But crucially, what clothing cannot do for you is A, deliver a brand new identity, or B, plug the deep-seated insecurities that you have in your life. I believe that there is something that happens in our minds which is incredibly addictive when we see a new piece of clothing online or in a shop, in particular on Instagram, where we think, if I just buy that one thing, I will finally feel cool enough, I will finally feel professional enough, I will finally feel ladylike and elegant enough, whatever your particular insecurity happens to be. And then comes an endless cycle of an immediate sense of resolution or satisfaction, followed by the resumption of the insecurity and an additional purchase, which keeps us trapped buying new clothes over and over again. Point number 2 is that clothing carries memories. When I pick up a dress from my wardrobe, my opinion of that item of clothing is coloured by all of the memories that it took part in over the years. Examples I can think of are when I've dated somebody and I've worn a particular outfit and they either didn't comment or they made some kind of subtle comment which indicated that it wasn't their favourite thing that I owned. A friend saying that they liked it, but they really loved what I wore last time. Or it was the outfit that you wore that time to that party where you either felt wildly overdressed or underdressed, and that vague sense of unease and discomfort comes to your mind as soon as you see it. These kind of feelings tend to take the shine out of the piece of clothing, even though it's still the same beautiful piece of clothing you bought, and potentially even still your style. And I think there's just a general point that clothing was bought and worn in times of your life and to a certain extent versions of yourself that no longer exist. Past jobs, past relationships, past houses that you've lived in. And yet the clothing is still there in your wardrobe, just the same as it was. And I think that disconnect can sometimes feel a little weird. And all of this together subconsciously accumulates to make you not want to wear that wonderful thing, which is just still as wonderful as the day you bought it. Number 3 is that clothing is your armor. I've already said that I think it's really normal that we put on certain clothing for certain occasions and it helps us present ourselves to the world and communicate to the world that you're open for business, you want to be spoken to, you're out there.
You know, I'm in workplace.
I also think there is nothing wrong with when you're going into a social situation that makes you feel a bit nervous, that at least you know something's ticked off the list. You feel really good in what you're wearing. But I think the important thing to remember is that that's all it can give you. It can't actually fix the underlying issue. I've become much more fixated on clothing as armor in the periods of my life where I've been feeling quite vulnerable. So going to occasions like weddings or dinner parties or whatever, when you're recently single school. That's the kind of classic time where I would get very, very fixated on what I was wearing. I would have almost a goal that I would want people to tell me that they really liked what I was wearing. I think because I had a fear that anyone would feel sorry for me, and I wanted people to more just focus on, oh, I really liked what Izzy was wearing. And that has a consistency element as well, like trying to get it right each time cumulatively. So people would think, oh, every time I see so-and-so, they're really well dressed, they're wearing X, Y, and Z. And then that could be the thing that they think of when they think of you, which is what you do when you don't really want to be seen and you don't really want people to be assessing you. The issues with this are, number one, nobody is ever as focused on yourself as you are. People really are thinking about themselves. It's an oldie but a goodie. Number two is that you may look 5 to 10% better in that one dress that you've just bought new, maybe, but it's all a question of taste, and ultimately your face is your face and you're always just going to look like yourself. Number three, I would say question yourself as to why you want to have the armor on. Do you really need it on? Do you want something that makes you feel like you are protected from the people wherever you're going? Because presumably if they're your friends, actually you just want to be open with them and they'll just be there to take care of you and they really don't care what you're wearing. And lastly, I think there's this inevitable disappointment when you realize that the armor you have put on cannot save you from the thing that you're feeling bad about. It can't actually resolve the underlying problem. And I think there's a little bit of a crestfallen moment where you're like, oh, I did everything right, but actually it's not helping me. Or you think you didn't get it right and you spend the whole evening fussing about it because you're feeling vulnerable, thinking, oh, this would have been really fun if I just worn X. But actually then you're just robbing yourself of the enjoyment of just being around people and not focusing on this thing. So I think hyper reliance on something which actually is just a band-aid and can't really help you holds you back. Right, number four is that your wardrobe is probably a mess. I'm just like judging other people by my own standards here. If you've got a load of stuff that you never wear and you don't like, it's hanging next to the stuff that you do like, and next to it you've got an overflowing washing basket full of stuff that never gets washed because you don't care whether it's washed because you don't wear it. Nothing looks as good, but also you just don't want to have as much fun with the things that you already have. You don't want to put together fun combinations and be like, oh, will this go with that? You don't want to shop your own closet because the store is a mess. So I'd really recommend just taking everything out that you don't wear, donate it, take everything that you want to sell, put it in a separate box, put it under the bed, get it on Vinted or whatever, and get rid of it. Okay, number five is subconsciously, at least, we all have a slight aversion to repeating outfits.
Lizzie McGuire, you are an outfit repeater.
I think on some level, when people go to whatever it is with the same group of friends, certainly within like the space of X number of months or a year, people have a kind of internalized like expectation in their head that they think people will be expecting them to wear something different. I think this has been normalized by watching sitcoms where you have these average people, supposedly the character, where they're wearing a different outfit in every single shot. And to me, the way to get around this is to change up the record in your head. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm wearing the same thing I did last time, think, yeah, I'm wearing the same thing I did last time. These are my treasured possessions and I love wearing them and using them and getting value out of them. And people will associate you with certain items of clothing. They're like, oh, that's my friend, and they always wear that to things like this because they love it. And I remember that when we went here, embracing loving the things that you have and cherishing them and letting them kind of become a little part of your identity as well. So I'm going to make a whole separate video on how to shop efficiently so that you don't buy things unnecessarily, because I have definitely been incredibly guilty of that in my life. But general takeaways to sum up are, it's just clothing at the end of the day and it cannot fix the deep-seated issues in your life. You've got to do that yourself. It's good to be self-aware and recognize when you are falling into a trap, an automatic thought process that happens to you time and time again when you are looking to buy clothes. And then lastly, I think that when we are always so fixated on chasing after the new, we are actually really missing out on enjoying and appreciating the past decisions that we've made, the things that we've already bought, that are beautiful and already exist in our lives and are hanging up right there in your wardrobe. You're chasing the new at the expense of the existing. So I hope you enjoyed that, and like and subscribe for more petite dressing content. Bye!